Olympique Lyon started their season with their worst ever start to a Ligue 1 season in their club's history. Lyon got 4 points from their first 10 games in the league this season, and those 4 points came from 4 draws, meaning that they were winless in their first 10 games of the Ligue 1 season. They sat dead last in Ligue 1, and despite having the likes of Alex Lacazette, Tolisso, Ryan Cherki, they looked like a team that would be destined for relegation for their first time since 1983. But now, Lyon didn't just avoid relegation this season, they managed to turn their whole season around, finishing 6th, securing themselves European football for next season, despite only winning 1 game in their opening 14 games of the league season. Also now securing their highest finish in the league since 2021, and they are also set to still play in the French Cup final, and all things considered, they have been pretty successful this season. Their turnaround to this level wasn't only not expected by me and pretty much every other football fan around the world, but this also seemed almost impossible, seeing Lyon win 9 of their last 11 games, only losing one of those games to PSG, and now finishing 6th after being dead last in the beginning of the season. But how did Lyon turn it around? How did they go from looking destined to get relegated into being one of the informed teams in Europe and qualifying for the Europa League next season? Well, that's what we'll be talking about today. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Back of the Net here. I hope you're all doing well. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. With Lyon's first 10 games of the season, they had already sacked their manager and former PSG manager Laurent Blanc. They had sold a promising player in Favre to Bournemouth. They had sold Lukeba to Leipzig and had sold one of their better players in Bradley Barcola to fellow Ligue 1 team PSG. They were also without a win for their first 10 games of the season and had their worst ever start to a Ligue 1 campaign in their club's history. And yes, they've had poor starts to a season and still managed to finish in a decent position, but none like this. This was their first time in their history that they were winless for this amount of time in the league. They had already gone through so much change in their first 10 games. The fans attacked the buses. They looked like a complete and utter mess. And Lyon eventually got their first win of the season on the 12th of November with a narrow 1-0 win over Rennes, and followed that positive result up with 3 straight losses, meaning that in 14 games in the league, Lyon had scraped just 1 win. That is not only relegation form, but that is form of a team destined to finish bottom of the table and go out by December. And I mean, due to their form, like I said earlier, Lyon fans attacked the bus. Yet, seemingly, just when you think there is no hope for Lyon, they are down and out of the blue. Olympique Lyon went on to win their next 10 games out of 12, seemingly figuring it out and turning it around out of nowhere. They went from one of the worst teams in all of Europe to one of the best informed teams in all of Europe at the drop of a hat. So why the sudden turnaround for a club seemingly in the dumps, seemingly being destined to be relegated? Well, bringing in a new manager certainly helped the situation. Laurent Blanc is a good manager, but the Lyon players just maybe didn't seem to trust him. Lyon seemed tactically inept, and they seemed to have an incredibly weak mentality at the start of the season under Laurent Blanc, that anything that went against them, they would seem to drop their heads and crumble under any sort of pressure. So the 45-year-old Pierre Sage, sorry for my pronunciation by the way, came in November 2023, with this being his first professional managerial job. He came into Lyon when they were at their lowest and has lost just 6 games, drawn 1 game and won 20 of his first 27 games in charge of a club that seemed destined for relegation, dragging them from rock bottom of the table to getting 6th and securing Europa League football on the final day of the season. He has seemingly instilled a winning mentality to the players, and they seem to have a grit and a mettle about them that they could have only dreamed about in their first 14 games of the season. 32-year-old ex-Arsenal player and now captain of Lyon, Alex Lacazette, has also been absolutely phenomenal and having arguably one of the best seasons of his career, scoring 22 goals, getting 5 assists in just 34 games this season. He leads the team by miles in goals scored in Ligue 1 and has been probably their best player of the season. Now, Max Kakare, again, sorry for the pronunciation, has also been really impressive this season for Lyon, to be fair, but I just think Lacazette has been another level. Lyon's turnaround this season is actually something you only rarely see in video games. They have looked like a completely different team under PSG and now have a shot at somehow claiming some silverware this season against PSG in the Coupe de France final. Now, admittedly, PSG most likely will win that game. I mean, PSG have beaten Lyon 4-1 twice this season. And with the fact that Lyon aren't really a great defensive team under PSG, I don't think they'll beat PSG. But I mean, anything is possible. This Lyon team has shocked me more than once this season. So beating PSG wouldn't be the first time that they shock me this season. And the fact that they play in a 4-1-4-1, they attacking wise are a pretty good team, so you never really know, I guess. Now, as good as Lyon have been for the second half of the season, they do still have some issues. Outside of Lacazette with 19 league earned goals this season, their next highest goal scorer is 23-year-old Irish centre-back Jake O'Brien with just 4. Lyon also don't necessarily have a great playmaker, with Ryan Cherki leading the team on assists with just 6, followed by Ainsley Maitland-Niles with 4. A lot of Lyon's better players are older than you would like them to be, and while they do still have some good young players, as they always do with guys like Ryan Cherki and Koumbedi, they don't have a young enough squad all around the board. There are rumors also that Lyon will have to go through a lot of change this summer, with their finances not being absolutely amazing. Their first choice goalkeeper Anthony Lopez might be going to Saudi Arabia in the summer. Honestly, this upcoming transfer window this summer is huge for Lyon to try avoid disaster, try avoid what they had at the beginning of the season, because they do still have a lot of holes around the squad. Like I mentioned earlier, Lyon defensively are absolutely horrible. They've conceded 55 goals and only scored 49 goals. They defensively need to get a lot better, and I mean a lot better. I mean, under PSG, as good as they have been, they still aren't a great defensive team. They need to get better defensively. I just don't know how they're going to do that. The loan signing of Saïd Benrahma was an amazing piece of business by Lyon, and they might be able to get him back permanently. But either way, in my opinion, Lyon obviously need to keep PSG in charge of the club and back him in the window. Pierre has proven to everyone that he is the right man for the job. I mean, to come into a club that had won 1 game in 14 and then in their next 27 games win 20, Pierre is by far the right man for the job, and he needs to be backed in the window by Lyon. Now, I know Lyon aren't flush with cash. They can't just back Pierre as much as he likes, and they may have to sell a guy like Ryan Cherki. But if that's what it takes to back PSG in the window, then Lyon need to do it. Lyon can't afford another slow start to next season, and Pierre seems like the right guy for Lyon. So Lyon needs to build around him, give him the tools that he needs, and maybe under PSG you could see Lyon return to their former glory. Maybe not win Ligue 1, being that PSG have won it for how many years now, but to at least be a top 3 team under Pierre, I can see it happening. As long as he gets the right tools in the window, they don't sell all of their best players, and they keep developing youth like they've always done, well then a top 3 finish next season is fairly doable.